Suzuki middleweight V Stroms have always been the best of their crossover or adventure bike offerings. The V Strom 650 is an unglamorous yet quietly popular bike thanks to a keen price, good manners in all weathers, and 100,000-mile dependability. You can ride it just about anywhere, every day, and all it'll need is basic servicing and a good wash to look after the finish. 2023 saw the introduction of the all-new V Strom 800DE, alongside the venerable 650 rather than replacing it. The 800DE is a true adventure bike with a 21-inch front wheel, long travel suspension, off-road riding modes, and high-quality suspension that will handle a proper off-road ride. Whereas the DL 650 was more of a road bike with capability for gentler unpaved road and forest tracks rather than deep mud or sand, it can probably be done, but it wouldn't be your first option. 2024 V Strom 800 rebridges the gaps between the two, sharing the core of the 800 but swapping the long, fully adjustable suspension for more basic Showa components with a 70mm reduction in wheel travel at either end. And the front wheel has shrunk to 19-inch, as well as switching from wire spoke to a cast rim with a subtle dog leg pattern. Tires are tubeless on the reducing hassle and expense at tire changes. It's not all downgrades though, as the 310mm discs up front are now pinched by a pair of radial 4-piston Tokico calipers, rather than the sliding 2-pots on the DE. The shorter suspension and wheel swap has also chopped the 800DE lofty 855mm seat height by 30mm, so it's more accessible to riders that don't have legs like Peter Crouch, and a significant 7 kg saving, partly due to the removal of the bolt-on lower cradle that carries the sump guard, only helps manageability and general performance. There's also minor styling tweaks to make it less Dakar and more daily ride. The handlebars are closer and narrower for comfort, and the footpegs are aluminium with larger rubber toppers instead of steel, trading dirt bike resilience for reduced transmission of vibration. They're fractionally higher and further back too. The screen is larger, though handguards are an option instead of standard as on the 800DE, and the seat is subtly reshaped to suit the new riding position. Nothing earth-shaking, but it's a markedly different experience to the V Strom 800DE for the better. As a road bike, it almost feels like a roomier, more protected version of the Suzuki GSX 8S than a DE with bits taken away. The adventure bike riding dynamic is always a compromise on the Roa. Long travel suspension and a big front wheel makes for slower steering and less feel, particularly at lower speeds. The Re has a much more natural rate of turn, and greater communication from the tires, and switching trail-friendly brakes for roadworthy stoppers makes a big difference to confidence. Most riders won't feel the less adjustable suspension is a downgrade, as the Showa separate function, big piston forks manage the neat trick of being cheap to assemble, yet offer plush damping and good control. The Showa shock offers a respectable balance of ride quality and support for spirited riding. It isn't perfect, and pronounced bumps and holes still jolt a touch, but that's to be expected. This isn't a premium bike with electronic semi-active suspension to react to every situation. 150mm of travel is around 20 or 30mm more than your typical road bike, so it still retains some of the ability to deal with rough surfaces without running out of travel, but it also doesn't pitch back and forth, floating through its stroke like long travel adventure bikes often do. So there's good communication and feel from either of the specifically designed Dunlop tires. We found grip and feel levels to be acceptable on the launch, but that was on dry, grippy roads in the south of France. We'll see how they fare on the UK's neglected roads and its inclement weather. Handling is notably better than the DE on the road with less effort required and greater accuracy. It's sprightlier and more engaging than the V Strom 650, and is almost like a soft supermoto if you really push it. Weight transfer to the front in particular is very good for a tall bike. Loading the front tire to gain confidence that it's gripping as you'd hope doesn't require you to compress inches of fork travel before that feedback comes. And opening the throttle out of bends doesn't cause excessive squat from the rear, so it holds a line well. It proved 100% stable, no matter the combination of speed, lean, and bumps, including some spirited riding following Suzuki's Guide Rider, in a manner well beyond the design brief and expectations of the target audience. Rest assured it has plenty of scope for weekend fun on the twisties as well as its more practical skills. The Nissan brakes are leagues ahead of its 800 and 650 brethren. With all the power and good feel at your fingertips, the rear brake has the right sort of progressive feel and power to be useful for low-speed control. The ABS is a very basic system, relying on wheel speed info alone to decide when to intervene. It only gets flustered if you combine a death grip on the lever with high speed and very bumpy or rutted surfaces when it can't keep up. Intervention is a rare occurrence in most conditions, thanks partly to the suspension performance. Many budget bikes tend to have softly sprung, undamped forks which plummet through their travel on the brakes and overwhelm the front tire. The Suzuki's above-average mechanical grip means it doesn't need fancy electronics to sort it out. The 776cc parallel twin, powering the V Strom 800 siblings, exceeds the modest promise the figures make on paper. Chunky mid-range over rev-chasing horsepower suits the middleweight trio down to the ground, feeling like a much more powerful bike, though drive tails off at 8,000 revolutions per minute and above 85 miles per hour. For the V Strom duo in particular, it's rarely a problem. It's friendly from the first touch of the throttle at low RPM on the B engine mode, which has a progressive torque delivery. There is a C mode with super soft response, but it really isn't necessary. Unless you get caught in the snow, perhaps even a mode which cracks on with delivering the best of the motor's throttle response early, isn't spiky, so can be used all the time by more experienced riders with finely honed throttle control. And it's the one everyone should choose at a road or motorway speed or for having fun on a mountain pass. Overtaking and filtering is easier than it often is on rival like the Honda Transalp and the 790 KTM or CF Moto options, which tend to require more use of the gearbox and higher RPM to deliver their best.